Hey y'all! Welcome to World Cup Interviews, the best place to get insight to the competitive scene of Horus Heresy Legions. My name is Varuna. I'm a member of the Brotherhood, one of the top 10 performing lodges out there. I also make guides on YouTube. Joining me today is Coldstorm, team captain for England, and also one of my teammates for the Brotherhood Lodge. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing very good, thank you.
Tell me, how did you come up with your username?
My username has always been Coldstorm05, and that's from the year I made it. I've kind of just gone by it for almost 16 years now, which means I can't really remember why I picked it.
It
I'm
just kind of
afraid,
sounds cool, right?
yeah, I was a young teenager and it just kind of sounded cool at the time, and I never thought of anything better to replace it with, and it's just kind of stuck.
How long have you been playing Horus Heresy Legions for?
I'm not sure the actual time frame, but expansion wise, it was when like Orphans of War were just being released during the event. Like, so that crate hadn't fully come out. So that's probably at least a year and a half, if I had to guess.
What's been your experience playing card games prior to Horus Heresy Legions?
Okay, so this is a long one. I started Magic the Gathering with 7th edition when I was very young. After that, I took a reasonable long break, but I'd always had like a background of card games, I guess, like, and enjoyed them. When like Hearthstone came out, I did give it a try. I played during the beta of that. I think after like one expansion, I kind of like started losing interest in the game. I think a lot of other people did the same, where they were like, yeah, the direction the game's going is a bit too random, not very fun if you're trying to be competitive in it, because there's so many different outcomes of everything you do, and like it's just less skill based at that point.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of a randomness factor to every card in the game, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And when a lot of other people like jump ship, I went as well. So I'm not sure what order I played these in, but I've played almost every digital game out there. So I played Gwent for a while. I think after that, I tried Shadowverse for a little bit, like the anime version of Hearthstone, essentially. But I didn't play that for very long either. I think like another expansion came out, and I was like, yeah, this game's not as good as it was. Hex. So Hex is like very strongly based on Magic the Gathering in the game style. They got sued by Wizards of the Coast for being too close in how the game worked. So that led to them having to change the life totals from 20 to like 25 or something, and a couple of changes.
Oh well.
Sadly, that game just kind of fully died out. After that, I moved to Eternal, which is also a very similar game to Magic the Gathering, where it's just like the very similar phases, but again, it's done from digital from the beginning. So there's more things they can do with deck manipulation of where you can draw cards or things like that that you just wouldn't be able to do with like actual cards, which was kind of like a novel thing. But I think like maybe only after playing like maybe 6 months or something, Artifact was just coming into beta as well. And through some of my teammates from Magic the Gathering got beta access into that. One of them had gone to like, some big event or something and gotten codes for us, which was really good at release. But obviously, I don't know if you've heard of Artifact, but it was the Valve made card game, which was like very tactical, very novel and different to basically every other card game I've played. 4 months after its actual release or something, basically no one played the game, so I was like, yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, I
But
think the biggest problem with that is that they were going away from the free-to-play model, which is such a nice incentive for most digital card games, unfortunately. So them coming out of here and saying, hey, we're going to be premium is like, oh, that's kind of a big hurdle to go over, especially when you're not sure if you're going to like the card game to begin with, right?
yeah, definitely. I thought you could do like the free draft, which you could essentially just draft forever for completely free, but you just don't build any collection from that, which obviously, yeah, a lot of people didn't like, which was sad because I thought that model worked quite well because you could just resell your cards. I actually made more like Steam credit from that than I ever put into it, and I had like a full collection.
Oh, nice.
And then yeah, like the next like year or two, any game I wanted to buy on Steam was just from my Steam credit that I'd gotten from Artifact. So
Wow.
like I don't know if I just got really lucky, but yeah, I came out on top from that, even though the game sadly died. I did play Farrier as well, which is another very different kind of card game where you've got like a board where you're like moving everything around hex grid tiles, but it's still, you're drawing your cards and playing them for your mana, etc. Like, so it's just another like different, very different take on it, which I enjoyed for a while. I think that's probably every card game. And I think
That's quite a lot, yeah. I
yeah,
was
that's almost all of them on the market. So basically, if there is a card game, I've probably tried it.
Yeah, I was almost expecting you to say Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon trading card game next, to be honest
Oh,
with
I
you.
did. I did do those actually as a kid, but not seriously. Although, actually, when I was like, I don't know, I must have been like 10, we did do tournaments for Yu-Gi-Oh! Where we all put in like a couple pounds prize money, and the prize money was like almost nothing, but we made a mini tournament out of it with like, I don't know, all my friend groups from like my primary school.
Right, right. So, regarding your teammates, I've heard your experience here has been quite unusual. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm the only original member from team, I guess the Isles were called, but it was
Team England, basically, right?
yeah. Like it was, I think one person from Scotland was in the qualifiers. I think maybe one person from Ireland, but I could be wrong on that. But all the people that qualified were English, so it was Team England to us. But obviously, we're still representing the people that tried to qualify for our team, so I'm happy being the Isles. But so Steve, unfortunately, just didn't have like the connection or the time to play, and Magnus, the Red, has just kind of like dropped off. I don't think anyone's heard from him in a couple of weeks, and apparently someone from his lodge has said that he hasn't been online in the game for a couple of weeks. So sadly, had to replace him as well.
So, yeah, it's been kind of a rough experience just trying to find two suitable teammates for you, in other words.
Well, I was lucky that Virus is very active in the community and a great person. Was happy to fill in as soon as we realised Magnus wouldn't be able to play any more games. When Steve said, like, I don't think I'm realistically going to be able to play because he has to play from his work connection, which is dodgy at times. He said, if possible, can someone replace me as well? And I pinged a couple of the other people that are in our Team UK Discord, and Arctic Snowman stood up to the task, which was really good, even if it's only for like the last 2 rounds.
So, the three warlords you chose for the World Cup were Naso, Korax, and Lionel Johnson. Why those three?
So at the time we were picking for the qualifiers, I was just really enjoying Lion. The playstyle since he got changed to the event warlord essentially was just really fun. I was doing well with a couple different builds on ladder. I just felt, yeah, this is a solid warlord. I don't feel like I've got any particularly bad matchups with him. I can always just draw well against basically anyone and I'll be able to win. Korax as well, I thought basically more or less the same thing. And also a bit more of an aggressive person where I can just like kind of punish someone if they have a slow draw. Nassau, I originally had for the qualifiers Valdor in place because I just really enjoy custodes or custodies, however you prefer to
I
say.
call them custodes, but yeah.
But anyway, so I wanted to play Valdor, but Valdor was absolutely terrible against Desperate Defense at the time. And then I thought, Nassau, I can build like quite aggressive as well. And then I've got kind of a slower mid-rangey Lion. I've got a very tempo-y based Korax, and now I can have like a more aggressive style Nassau. And then I've got like a good mix where people can't just like tech cards against me and be really good if I had like three aggro warlords, for example.
What kind of mindset do you have prior to playing a match? Do you do anything to prepare?
I just make sure everything's calm and quiet. I guess I'm just like used to it. I don't feel too much pressure. I'm just there, I'm focused, I'm ready, and then I just get on with it.
And you don't like put on any kind of music or anything like that?
If I'm in the mood, I do like the old original StarCraft Brood War soundtrack. That's definitely been my favorite before when I'm competing because it's just good kind of background music you can jam to.
How are you and your team doing overall? Do you have any regrets?
So our team's either in bottom place or second bottom for Group A at the moment. So we're either second or bottom in Group A at the moment. So we haven't done fantastically. I think for myself anyway, I'm mostly here for kind of the enjoyment of the experience. I'd say we've just been quite unfortunate. I think we've had from one of our teammates a couple no shows or like they couldn't make it in time, which definitely like didn't help. But
Who would you consider to be your rivals in the World Cup?
I don't really see us having a specific rival per se. If I had to say someone, it would probably be Australia because in our match against Australia, all three of us went 0-3 against them,
Oh wow, that is
which
brutal.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, so they got 27 points for that round, which is as much as they could possibly get.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if any other team have managed that feat, but there might be.
Wow.
But yeah, so let's say Australia.
Which warlords have you struggled the most against in the World Cup?
Surprisingly, I'd say it's been Khan for myself, where I felt my warlords were quite good against him. I think Lion, if I draw like the healing troops anyway, like which I've got a lot of in the deck, I can do well. And especially against on ladder, like where I've like done obviously most of the practice. Anytime I see a Khan, I feel that I'm very favoured in that matchup. In the World Cup, I think obviously the players are all playing their heart out. They're doing really well. They've probably got slightly better builds even than like whoever you see on ladder, and I felt that they've all just played really well. Like they've done everything they can, and they've gotten as much out of Khan as they possibly can. Where I've been like punished a bit more than I have been on against other warlords, I think.
Yeah, they've got decks that are basically optimized to maybe counter your decks as well, is another thing to keep in
Yeah,
mind. So.
yeah, definitely.
So for the World Cup, Sisters of Silence, Agents of the Sigilite, Night Houses, as well as Crucial Choice and Corn's Favor are banned. What are your thoughts on all these banned factions and cards?
I'm very in favor of all of these bans. Originally, I thought Agents of Sigilite would be fine to allow, but you can't really allow them and not Sisters at the time when the rules were being made. But I think in hindsight, I think it's been quite nice not having those in because we get to have almost a throwback meta where we don't have all these new things you're seeing at the moment. A crucial choice, I even suggested to the tournament organizer at one point where he was saying, oh yeah, I'm going to be tallying out, are we allowing warlord changes based on the recent patch? And I said, why don't you throw in another question? Do you want crucial choice in the tournament or not? Because crucial choice has so many different outcomes that can almost decide a matchup on its own. And the fact is that the other person can't play around it, unlike other cards that put cards in your hand, like a Jubak or something like that. You know exactly what the things they can possibly pull will be. Whereas Crucial Choice, you kind of have to play around everything. And it's almost impossible to do that. And I think it just removes some of the skill of playing around certain cards that I think's just a key part of the game, like the mind game of, what are they holding on to?
So it looks like you're basically out of the tournament at this point. If you were to compete again next year, what would you do differently?
I'd definitely try and prepare my warlords a bit better. So when I first picked my three, I originally was thinking of having Nassau sitting in my back pocket where I can pull him out where I feel that's a good matchup. And then I realized afterwards that, we're playing all three games regardless. We're not just going to 2-0 and then we're calling it there. So I thought it was going to just be like a normal kind of best of three style. And I think I would have picked probably something else that's another good all-around warlord. So for example, I played my round 8 match just this morning. I won the first two games and then played Nassau as my last. And he had Tarion, which is almost an auto loss, I feel.
Yeah, Mortarion is just one of those
quick.
polarizing warlords that just it's very hit or miss whether or not you're going to do well against him, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's got very good matchups and very bad matchups, and for that it was a very good matchup for him. But like I had no choice. I was like, yeah, I've just got to run this as my last warlord because yeah.
In terms of the rank ladder, what are your thoughts on the current balance of the game? What would you nerf or buff?
Crucial choice we've already talked about. It's just 2 auto-include in every single deck. If a card is in every single deck or almost every single deck that every single person plays, no matter what archetype that is, I think it probably is too strong or too efficient at whatever it is doing. Maybe it needs a cost increase, maybe it just needs a rule change, maybe it needs to go back to adding the card to both people's hands and then no one will play it again ever again.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think Khorne's Favor, particularly with Cypher, is very consistent. I don't really know like what change I would want to that, but I do feel that some of those decks could probably do with being toned down somewhere. Maybe it adds less damage. Maybe it can only be on the next attack, I've seen people say. I don't know. I'm honestly really surprised that Night Houses didn't get touched at all in the last bans patch, because in their own meta reports that they put out, they've consistently had like 65% win rate in the high terror bracket. I feel like there could be a big change where you like can only activate one weapon a turn, or either there's more plasma cost, or I think it's called, isn't it? More like plasma cost to the weapons. Or there's like less plasma generation. Like the 1/3 that you play for 1 could generate less. The 2 energy card that you draw a card and you gain 3 plasma could probably give you like 2 plasma or 1 plasma even. Like I think they could do a lot of things like that just to make these weapons like a bigger cost to activate. And also I think if you stun the warlord, what's it doing shooting me, you know?
I mean, the devs have said specifically that that was part of their design philosophies, that you couldn't use stuns to control how the weapons operated. No one seems to suggest is what if you just lowered the health of the weapons? You know, part of the thing that makes them obnoxious is they've got 8 health. It seems like it takes forever to take them out. So if they were to say supposedly switch to like 6 base health, I think that would fix at least some of the problems that make them so frustrating to fight against.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, lower health, or also one thing that I feel was just a complete oversight. Dravian Clade from the Raven Guard, where you enemy vehicles and Titan weapons have sentence three. Well, what's a graviton cannon if not a Titan weapon? You know, I feel that things that affect Titan weapons should also affect the weapons. I think the Sisters of Silence card, the Silver Osprey, where you do extra damage to Titan weapons or vehicles, should also do extra damage to Nighthouse's weapons.
Who is your favorite warlord to play, and who is the warlord you hate fighting against the most?
My favorite to play, I think, is Branthan. I just really love his solid, kind of slow, grind you out kind of style. And a lot of the cards in the Orphans of War are very good at just being kind of like long term value. And that's just a playstyle I just really enjoy. Least favorite to play against is probably Kareen, again, Orphans of War. When that card first came out, I was close to quitting the game, like for a while, just because it was so miserable when it actually took the card out of your deck and everyone was just running like mill with him. And
Just wait, it would steal the card out of the deck?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It
wow.
wouldn't copy, it would steal it fully.
Oh, yeah, no, I started playing right around the Caliban expansion, so no
Uh,
wonder people hated playing against him.
yeah,
Oh my god.
it was miserable because you didn't even know what was taken from your deck. And I think at the time I was mostly playing Night Lords. I was playing like Kurz. And how I was playing was I would wait until I get the Raven. And then I would win with that basically. You know, like just classic, very slow Kurz, very dirtily. It was really good back then at one point. And if those key cards like the Raven just get stolen out of your deck and you don't even realize it, you could just be sitting there for like 5 to 10 turns or whatever, just being, okay, I'm not actually going to be able to win the game because he's got all my cards. And
Yeah,
you end up with just like running out of win cons essentially.
yeah, no,
Uh,
I can understand why that would be infuriating. What would you like to see added to the game next?
I think we should start going through the Xenos armies. I think the precedent has been set with the Ruin Storm that you can have a faction that doesn't have access to all the neutral cards already. So I think you could have like orcs in the game and have them only able to use orc cards. And I think you'd have to have them have like a larger card set to be able to cover the neutrals they won't have access to. Because you can't just have like orcs having random chaos cards, I think. Like that wouldn't really make sense in the game style. So I think like where Ruin Storm can only be Ruin Storm or Chaos. Yeah, so I think the next expansion should probably be like working on Xenos armies.
Would you like to do a shout out to any players?
I'd love to shout out all the players that have played for our team. So Steve has done admirably. He's done what he can. Magnus as well. Like he's had a rough tournament, but I think he's done as much as he could, and it's unfortunate that he couldn't carry on. I hope he's well because we haven't heard anything from him. I've like messaged him and gotten no response. So I just hope he's okay and like for whatever reason he just like can't play the game anymore. And I'd love to shout out my two new players, Phyrus of Epirus and Poetic Snowman, who have stepped up. Like they know that we have no chance of qualifying. We're literally just playing just to not give free wins, I guess, to other people and just for like basically just for fun, you know, at this point. It's just good to have them step up and be like, all right, yeah, it's not glamorous. I'm going to play 3 matches or 2 matches and that's it. But they've put in the effort in and yeah, they've been having fun as well with it, I think. So I think it's just great that they've actually bothered, I guess, to join up and help run like the tournament because otherwise the last couple teams would be getting inflated points from getting just like 2 free wins. I think the first 4 slots are going to be quite close because teams in 5 and 6 are only just a couple points behind. And if we gave free wins to a couple of those teams just from us not bothering essentially to play the last couple rounds, it could have changed the standings. So I think it's just important that both of those have joined on and I'm just really glad that they have.
Yeah, it's nice that they're not just showing up for the sake of showing up. They're actually giving it their all despite the circumstances you guys are in. Kudos to them for showing that they have integrity.
Yeah, definitely.
Any social media accounts you'd like to share with the audience?
Not really. If you ever want to ask me questions about my decks or anything, though, feel free to ping me on main Discord. You can just ping it like Coldstorm, and I'll probably read it at some point and respond if you've got any questions. But other than that, nah, no social media.
All right. Thanks for the interview and best of luck in the rest of the World Cup.
Yeah, thank you very much.